There's some neighborhoods in New York that are just more blessed with food stores than others, and Greenwich Village is one of those neighborhoods. I live just a few minutes from here. We're in this little block right now on Houston Street where I've got an amazing mozzarella, Joe's Dairy, Pino's Prime Meats, old school butcher, Raffetto's handmade pastas on the other side of Houston. We're gonna head down Bleecker Street to Fiaco's, then to Florence Meat, and highlight stores that have been here for generations that do one thing incredibly well. Shopping in Greenwich Village, old school, it's all about ingredients, it's all about history. And we're gonna eat at Crispo's at the end. I'm Mike Colameco, chef and food lover. Come with me and meet some of today's most interesting chefs and their crews that work in their kitchens. Real chefs, real restaurants, and real recipes. That's what's on the menu. This is Mike Colameco's Real Food. I've lived all over Manhattan since I arrived here in 1982, and for the last 6 years I've lived in the West Village, which to date is my all-time favorite neighborhood. It's a unique area with meandering off-the-grid cobblestone streets, tree-lined and dotted with great little restaurants, legendary music venues, and of course, first-rate food shopping. So today we go old school and visit some of my favorite long-standing classic family-run shops that are always on my shopping list. Within a few blocks you're going to find amazing mozzarella, hand-cut prime meats, fresh egg pasta cut to order, a pork store, guitars, more guitars, and then we'll settle in for dinner at one of my favorite spots, Crispo on 14th Street to wind down. Anthony Campanelli, you're the guy that's been making, I've eaten your cheese for years and years and years, and it's always so nice to meet the face and meet the hands that feed me. For people that don't know mozzarella cheese, we got a couple of things. We got curd, we got water, we got your hands.
The curd that I get is like a formula that I came up with. This way I know what I'm making and I know what I'm getting.
Joe's Dairy, real simple name.
Started in this business around, I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. I lived right upstairs and I was always a go-getter. I wanted to work. And then one summer he had a death in his family. He was going to close the store because he had to go back to Italy. And I told him, I said, look, if you teach me how to make the cheese, I'll keep your store open for you. And I was like 14 at the time.
14-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Coming in every day, responsible for making mozzarella cheese.
That was it. He taught me in probably 3 days what I've been teaching myself 37 years to do.
All right, here we
Take
go.
your water.
170-degree water. There's always water flying around. The floor's a little slippery.
Just want to mix everything around so it gets fully cooked throughout.
This is what he's done this since he was 13, 14.
Yeah,
Bought the
exactly.
store at 16, 17 years old. So all he's done. Talk a little bit about it, because he does the cheese, you do the front of the house stuff. What do you think makes him so special?
His dedication. We're the type that will say, look, we got a good product. How do we keep it that way? And I've seen him adjust. He's taught people how to make it. These people don't know the adjustments. He does.
Right. I like doing it by hand, this way I don't have to go to the gym. Wow.
The guy from the New York Times came in, he was interviewing us about cheese. So I was working the counter and I was talking with him, and I had two female customers here. And we started talking about cheese and we're going back and forth. Would you want your children to work the store after you're gone? My brother poked his head out. And I looked at it, we both said the same thing. No. Mike, I swear to you, the two women here, one woman almost started to cry. She goes, but what are we gonna do? But it was at that moment that I realized the impact the store had on the neighborhood.
There's an old expression in Italy, there's 24 amazing things about mozzarella, and it loses one an hour. Has to be eaten fresh, and it just doesn't get any fresher. Warm, look, just oozing out milk. I'm sure I can speak for generations of New Yorkers who've eaten your cheese over the years. That's the man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
In 1973, I get married and I come to this country for stay a couple of months just for a honeymoon.
This store's been here since the early 1900s as
Right.
a butcher shop.
Yeah, they opened in 1904, and I started working here, and I like, and I stay for all these years. And we cut everything by hand.
You have the big filet mignon, and you have the strip on top of it.
Right.
So this is the filet
Right,
mignon.
this is
That's
filet
that
mignon,
muscle on
yeah.
exercise. This is the strip, first
right.
cut of it. Do you mind if I lift this up? You can smell
Sure. It's,
that age, man. I just love that smell. That's like
Of course.
nutty, funky. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. You know that's a winner. I mean, when it smells like that, you know it's going to taste great.
That's right. That's right.
And you make some sausage here too, don't you?
Sure we do.
You do a lamb
Well,
sausage or something?
yeah, we call it merguez, like we used to do in Sicily, with the lamb, and I have about a lot of different spices. And they put them in on a zagat. Is one of the best merguez in New York City.
So,
For that one.
Moroccan sausage via Sicily. I love it.
120 merguez. Wow.
They call up and they say, hey, I need 5
Hey,
steaks. I
5
want them cut like
steaks, 2
this.
steaks, you know, and the customer here, they never ask me for the price. All they ask me, Pino, I want a good steak. No matter what, they pay. They're very happy, and they come back for many, many years. We send to the boy. I got 3 boys that go delivery. You know, they're like.
That's old school.
That's it.
That's service, like the old days.
Oh my. I'm generation 3, yeah.
You grew up in the neighborhood, in the building.
Oh, upstairs, yeah. The commute was great for about 38 years.
Grandpop started the business, and really not much has changed. Some of the equipment goes back in time, the recipes go back in time. Mom's still here.
The core of the original recipes, of which there's like 4 or 5, are the same.
Thank you.
The offerings now are 50, 60 different kinds of
Filled pastas,
flat
flavored
pastas,
pop,
filled pastas, whatever it might be. Some people like to get, when they can't decide what flavor, I say, why not just mix them all up? And one of the advantages of this old guillotine cutter that we still have from like 1917 is you could stack sheets of dough and cut different flavors all at once.
You folded them, so we're alternating egg pasta, spinach pasta.
That's right. There we go.
So we got a motor that's driving this wheel that's running this guillotine down, and then you adjust the size with the little knob down there in terms of the width. How cool, how old school, and how cool is that? And again, for the folks that ask me why I don't make egg pasta at home, because I got these guys around the corner.
I usually jokingly tell people, listen, let us make the pasta, you work on the sauce.
That's right.
My father-in-law opened here in 1906.
06. Well, thanks for being here and the
And
great
I love
Raffetto
it.
family, and
Thank you.
luckily your kids are involved, so it's you guys are
Oh,
going to
I'm
be here
very
a while.
lucky.
Yeah.
Richard's at the factory and Andre is here. And now this 4th generation is starting.
I don't know. How many stores in New York can you buy an Italian meal that Grandma made? I mean, seriously. Why do I bother
There's
cooking?
a few that claim, but
Yeah.
see ya.
These places were all over the village, all over Brooklyn back in the day. Talk about Faico's roots, the roots of this store and the history.
My great-grandfather opened the first store on Thompson Street in 1900. His name was Eduardo. He passed it down to his son, which is my grandfather, Joseph, and he passed it down to my father and my uncle, and now it's, you know, passed down to me.
For people that aren't familiar with Italian ethnic shopping, it's a pork store, so meaning
Meaning the pork store is we make homemade sausage, you know, from scratch.
your meat's great, your ground meat's unbelievably good. You got this back counter now where you got some of the best sandwiches in the city.
Oh yeah, well that's it. You got to change with the times. Now we do a full Italian deli. You know, you can get all your antipasto stuff here too, olives, all that stuff. We have take-home dinners that people just have to take it home, heat it up 20 minutes, and it's ready to go.
People ask me why do I make egg pasta at home. I'm like, honestly, I buy it at Raffetto's. It's so much easier. I'm not going to do it any better.
No,
Someone asked me for my recipe for Berjol. I'm like, Faico's. And they're like, what? I said, go to Faico's and buy there.
Well, that's the way this neighborhood still is. It's Raffetto's for pasta, Faico's for sausage.
Like the old days.
Yeah.
It was opened by Jack Ubaldi in 1936. Became a butcher, author.
Wrote that great book that's
Yep.
still probably the
Yep.
best meat buying guide.
Absolutely. He taught at the New School. He owned it from 1936 to 1975, and he sold it to Tony Pellegrino. He was here from 1975 to 1995 when I purchased it. Jack invented the Newport steak when he first opened up here. This neighborhood was a bohemian. It was the college kids, artists.
Yeah, authors, writers, playwrights,
and whatnot.
musicians.
And yeah, he needed a cheap steak, and the Newport steak was invented here.
So he takes this tri-tip out and
Yeah,
looks at it.
cut it into the
boneless.
steak, Basically, I'd rather have this than any steak, to be honest with you.
You know what? I hard to disagree. Look at that marble. I mean, that's just gorgeous.
The name Newport came from the Newport cigarettes because it used to have that horseshoe logo on it. This is a true prime meat market. Nothing's cut, as you can see.
Everything's sitting whole.
Just for sausage, and when you come in, we prepare your order, whichever way you want it. You want a steak this thick, that thick, this thick, whatever you want, basically. And we do deliveries with the bicycle still, and everything's like 100 years ago.
Like old school.
Yeah.
And you got customers that have been shopping here for years, and you know
Exactly
what they like.
No bandsaw either. Everything's cut by hand. Filet mignon is a very lean piece of meat, so if you're not careful roasting it,
You can overcook in a hurry and then it's dry.
then you might as well just get pot roast. This is sliced kidney fat.
Oh, the best. That's the best fat in the world from off the kidney.
Exactly, from the Heinz that we buy.
Yeah, the French chefs used to love this stuff.
This place here, the customers are as prime as the meat. All right, you need a certain type of person that appreciates this. Because if you stand here and you do something like this for them, they're really appreciative. And it's a pretty good feeling.
We're talking handmade cheese, hand-cut meats, handmade pasta, hand-stuffed sausages. Handmade guitars, man. Made in New York, made in Greenwich Village. Who does that? So when I'm not cooking and eating and shopping for food, I love a guitar, play guitar. I'm crazy about guitars. Got a big collection. Rick Kelly on Carmine Street makes some of the best electric guitars in America. Amazing guy. Handmade in New York out of old New York wood. 100-year-old wood from Jim Jarmusch's loft, from Chumley's around the corner, from the Chelsea Hotel. Who plays his guitars? How about guys like Bill Frisell, Lou Reed, Bob Dylan, G.E. Smith, Mark Ribot, list goes on. I mean, I ain't with them. I just fiddle around, but amazing story. So let's, food, little music. Let's go and meet Rick, meet his mom, see what makes these guitars so amazing. You do repairs, you're a great luthier. Everybody brings Patti Smith, you name it, brings their guitars in to get set up. You've made for Lou Reed. Bob Dylan's playing one of your Strats. Talk a bit about the wood that you're using and what makes these guitars what they are.
Lately I've been using a lot of reclaimed lumber. I've always used reclaimed lumber, but this stuff is actually what I call the bones of old New York. It's actually wood that's all the framing material for all the buildings here in New York City. It's timbers that are white pine, virgin forest wood, 200 years old. Most of this wood has been indoors for over 150 years, so it's just really seasoned and perfect for building guitar bodies.
So handmade, custom-made guitars, a tradition that's really sort of going by the wayside. You pick the frets, they can do anything you want, you make them, they're all one-off.
Yep, everybody gets an individual, everyone's a little different because they're all made by hand. I use machines, but the machines are still pushed around by the guy, so
That's you.
me, that's me.
The guy. One of my buddies, Frankie Crispo, ex-Philly boy, came to New York the same time I did. This guy does everything. He does plumbing, excavating, builds his own restaurant. Oh, and did I mention he's a great chef?
Order branzino topo.
Let's do this thing at Crispo's. Frankie is the man. You know, we did this show today, I told you, we're hopping around the village because this is such a great neighborhood to live for food. Well, West Philly was the same kind of thing. There was the pasta guy, the pork guy, the cheese guy. There were these stores, they were just specialty stores. That's how we shopped.
Yeah, my parents were mostly part of the neighborhood called Tacconi. In that area, a lot of the Italians settled, and they would have a bread baker, a guy who made wine.
Right.
So my grandfather was a master plasterer. So he would go to people's homes and help renovate and finish walls off, and then they would pay him for 3 loaves of bread, maybe, and 2 bottles of wine.
You've always had a great homemade pasta program here since day one. What do you have on any given day? 6 pasta, 7?
No, we have a roster of about 10 to 12.
Wow.
And you know, in an Italian restaurant, people expect more pasta than anything.
So now this is the 3rd time I've seen him pass this same sheet.
Yeah, you have a succession about 4 to 5 times.
Thinner and thinner each way.
Yeah. So this is the process, and we repeat this and repeat this and repeat this. So we start, we just fold it around, and we'll make the basket over here. 5 ounces we're at.
No, it's huge. A lot of work. Frankie, what do we have here?
This one?
Carbonara.
Carbonara.
The 3 P's, smoked pancetta, and prosciutto.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a real scrapper. So in New York, this place was built, it's like hodgepodge. The family that owned the building was selling the building, and the interior is going to be demolished. And I said, you don't have to pay me, just give me 3 days in your building.
Taking stuff
So
out.
this room,
funny.
for example, the stained glass I found behind the wall, sort of like that secret room. The floors are from turn of the century brownstones in Brooklyn. The woodwork in this room is from an old saloon down in the Bowery owned by Steve Brody. His claim to fame was that he jumped from the Brooklyn Bridge on a dare and survived. Yeah. So the woodwork here, it's all impressions they're all gold leaf. These light fixtures here in the main dining room are all Edison bulbs, but they are the light fixtures from New York City Subway. So we have them throughout the restaurant. So thank you, New York City Subway.
Topo, sonrisa por amiga.
You know, you're here 5-6 days a week. You're the face of the restaurant.
Order one Milanese, order one branzino, Topo.
Runs differently when the chef's around, when the owner's around. That's why I always love places like yours, places like this in New York City where there's someone has skin in the games on the floor.
Yeah, there's nothing really remote control about this business. You know, it's live, it's cooking. For the most part, it's 80% runs by itself, but that 10-20% is always what's needed.
All right, so Frankie, what do I have in front of me?
Well, we have our basic risotto balls, mozzarella, little marinara sauce for you. This is sausage stuffed sage leaves. Lay out the leaves, we stuff it with the sausage mix. We bake them slightly just to set them, and then we dip it in the pastelle, very light batter, and fry.
These are great. Perfect Negroni food.
You got to try this
I get this all the time while it's hot. So this is really thin sliced prosciutto, on top of polenta.
Fresh polenta.
Super creamy polenta. On top of it, paper thin smoked mozzarella. Chives?
Chives.
Smoky. I mean, what's not to love?
It's always been the place that are sort of the neighborhood spots that people love to go to.
Yeah, it's a price-friendly check average. It's not a menu that you need a decoder ring. It's food you recognize.
We buy right, we pay right. You know, we do the magic thing. It's not how much you can charge the customer. It's what you can bring to the table and make them feel comfortable at eating at the price that you can charge.
Here's to your 10th anniversary.
Thank you so much.
10th anniversary of Crispo Restaurant, one of my favorites in the city here on 14th
Here's the Mike
Street.
Colameco, telling it like it is.
It's kind of what we try and do. I did move, Lower East Side now, but West Village was so sweet. I really do think it's one of my absolute favorite places to live in the city. It's just gorgeous, gorgeous neighborhood. Jazz, cobblestone streets, trees, weird thing, and amazing food shopping, like such good food shopping. But Lower East Side, I'm not short on food shopping either, so I'm not missing it that bad at all. But I went back to visit the boys. So where did I go? Ta-da! We got our sausage from Faico's. These are sweet sausage with fennel. I've got some ground round that they ground fresh there. Raffettos. So the dish I'm going to throw together is a dish I came up with years ago. My two sons are bigger now. But when they were little, kids are just the worst. Like, they get hungry and they have to eat within, like, when's dinner? Oh, half an hour, and they freak out, right? I don't know what it is with their brains. They have to eat, like, instantly. So this is a dish that I just made out of happenstance. So what I'm going to do is this really simple recipe. Pork comes out of the casings. I'm going to mix it equal parts with some ground meat, a little bit of chopped garlic in there, and I'm just going to render that out in a pan. Then I'm going to add my tomatoes and just bring it up to a simmer. We're going to drop in the ravioli. These ravioli with fresh pasta, what are these going to take? 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes to cook? That's the whole length of this thing. This is a 25-minute meal, if that. So let's get started. We'll chop up some garlic. I'll finish it with just a little bit of heavy cream in that tomato sauce. Kind of makes the sauce turn a little bit of a pink shade. Adds a little bit of richness to it, obviously. And then because I've got tomato sauce with a little heavy cream in it, we're going to use Parmesan Reggiano cheese, because Parmesan cheese works beautifully with creamy things, in my opinion. Now, here's the deal with these sausage. Super simple to do this meal, but that's how you get sausage out of its casing. Just like that. Cut them open, and ta-da! Peel it back. Here's my beautiful ground meat. Again, fresh ground from the butcher. Let's go over and I'll meet you at the stove. I'll just put these two together because they're going to end up together anyway. All right, little bit of what else? Extra virgin olive oil, that's what we do. Got salted boiling water right behind me. Yeah, we're going to add some sausage meat. And then an equal amount of ground meat. And then we're just going to mash it up. I don't want big clumps. I want the meat to be finely distributed throughout this sauce. At this point, I'm going to add my garlic. And again, that was as much or as little garlic as you like at home. I think I use 4 cloves because I love my garlic. Pinch of salt. That's good enough for me. We're gonna add a little bit of basil now, and then we'll add some more at the end. And in go our tomatoes. All right. Break up the tomatoes a little bit. Again, these are my favorite tomatoes, these San Marzano tomatoes from Italy. I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago we were in Italy to film the San Marzano harvest. That was one of my favorite shows of all time. Great to go to some place you've been eating the ingredient your whole life and you're like, what makes this place so cool? What makes these tomatoes so good? And then you get there and you find out, oh. All right, again, Raffettos. Love these people. What is it, 3, 4 generations? Just making the most wonderful fresh pasta on Houston Street. We're gonna take these, and I'm not gonna cook all of these. I'm not gonna eat all of these either, so let's just take this group here. All right, boiling salted water. In go the ravioli, plural. And let's stir them. And I'm gonna guess these things are gonna cook in 4 or 5 minutes. Tomato sauce is basically done, as I said. Put them right in this tomato sauce. Sometimes you could plate them if you want without the sauce. I always like to get them bathed, if you will. Finish them with a little bit more of this fresh basil because we have it laying next to us. All right, I did mention this. Just a touch heavy cream in there. See, it just sort of creates this little blush in the sauce. All right, now I've got some grated Parmesan Reggiano. A nod to the fact that this is a creamy kind of a sauce. And thank you, Raffettos, for being around and making this phenomenal ravioli, because I'll tell you what, if they didn't make it, I don't think I'd be eating it. It's too much work for me to make it home. I'm that lazy. Well, there you have it, 1, 2, 3. Kind of like instant fast tomato sauce. Take the sausage meat out of the casings, or if you have it lucky and you have a place like Faico's near you, they'll sell you that sausage meat loose, because I always have it. And I just love those stores. I mean, that whole part of Little Italy where you can wander around, what was it, like a 10-minute radius maybe maximum to go from Pino's to Florence meat to Faico's in the middle, Joe's Dairy across from Pino's, Raffetto's on the other side of Houston. Just a great, great, great shopping neighborhood. And I love the fact that these are old-time New York stores. I mean, every one of them was in their 3rd, 4th, 5th generation. A lot of those stores went back 100 years. So God bless New York City and those traditions that still continue. All right, miss your West Village, but I love the Lower East Side. I still shop in the West Village from time to time, though. F train, 3 stops. Get off at Washington, West 4th. So you'll see me there. And Rick Kelly's Guitar Store. Yep. All right. See you next week. Till then, eat well. There we go. Got the car horns.
Well,